Hello, everyone, and welcome to DW's Anthology, our book launch for Cold Lake Anthology. If you're not aware, this is actually our 10th edition. So yes, we're very excited. My name is Samantha Finner, and I'm the Executive Director here at DWW. And we would like to thank Hotel Vermont for hosting us. We are very fortunate. They give us this lovely room a couple times a year for us to do events. So if you have friends staying, please think of having them stay here. Sorry, I'm out of breath. Tonight, we have 23 authors who will be reading. We will be taking a break, about a 10-minute break, about halfway through. And I would like to introduce Nancy Volkers, who is the head of our CLA editors.
Not really the head, I'm just de facto kind of became charge, because I've been around the longest. So we really appreciate all of you in this room and on Zoom for submitting your work and working so hard and working with us to make sure it looked the way you wanted it to look and your name was spelled right. The bios were correct, and we much appreciate all of that. There are 5 of us. 2 of us unfortunately were unable to make it today, but I do want to introduce the 2 that are here and embarrass them. So if Amy and Kimberly can stand up and give them a little round of applause. And then we also have Janet and another Amy who weren't able to. But we really appreciate all your hard work and totally looking forward to listening to you read and maybe talking with you afterward if we have time. So read fast.
Okay, we will be starting with Charles Belson, who did the cover for us. Charles, are you here with us?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, shall I start?
Yes, please.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Charlie Belson. I bring you greetings from the Silvermine Creek area of historic Norwalk, Connecticut. Several months ago, there were several open calls for cover art for Cold Lake Anthology 2024. I had a previously painted watercolor of a cold lake that I thought would be perfect, but I struggled with the title. I wanted something that was both literary and artsy, or literary and dignified. I settled on something that was a little of both. I would call my watercolor Lakeside Moonrise. It is a high honor to have my watercolor grace the cover of the 2024 Cold Lake Anthology. Best wishes to each and every author included in this publication. Thanks. Charlie Belson, signing off.
And our first author to read will be Whit Humphreys.
Hello, everybody. First up, terrifying, but I can do it. I'm going to read the poem that is in the anthology. It's only 5 lines, but it has changed. If you read along, it changed about 2 hours ago, actually. Still, breathe in winter sunrise and hold. Exhale slowly, earth and sky hues, undo night's cloak, like the sumac and dogwood, so you can weave cattails and fog into a pink silken robe your morning will want to wear. And a poem called Spring Morning. And I'll just read it. Here we go. Spring morning. Spring grass and cows entangle in the meadow across the street. Green blades growing faster, ever bringing bellies closer to feet. A robin's voice cuts through the embowered background chorus, yelling, "My tree, my day, my season shorter than yours." Through a tulip stem, sharp teeth sliced clean, the bud from its stem and leaf. It lays near its stump in grisly repose, and the rabbit slipped away unseen. South wind shivered in maple leaves in promise of summer's sweet days, countless murmuring alchemies turning life into the air we breathe. In faith and minds, glue of matter, entwined in spines of broken beast, I chase, but I don't know what after, but the most get over the least. Winter's calm and spring's riot is lost, what thought well known reveals it grown, because that is what its cost. And one more, maybe too much. This is called Future Perfect. I would have wished this porch eternal. I'll always be here as a ghost. I would have wanted to show you the hint of wholeness that is here at dusk. I will have wanted future robins yelling through your open window before dawn. And the bees will have all agreed the rhododendron's swift bloom should outlast June. I will still want a summer breeze to blow this restless screen door around. I will want to be the jay or crow squawking overhead about whatnot. I will want the 30th generation of driveway chipmunk to chirp highly of me. I will have wanted to be a worthy visitor to this face and hands that has spoken and built, seen and touched. I will have been wishing for you days of the finest buttercups ever, and the nights of countless fireflies brightly lighting your June meadows. And one more, please. That time? Okay. I wish I could put between the striated layers of my clean t-shirts in the basket waiting for you to fold them, a treat, a real eye-popping wonder, which would rock you back and turn the light around you into a golden embrace. And in the draining of Thursday's dinner dishwater, I find not only forks and spoons, but the vast landscape of interlocking energy and beauty Whitman saw as human skinned exuberance. Blake saw in his cosmic grain of sand, and I see as a universe in the green pea stuck in the drain. The mosquito who survived all the doors, halls, and swatting hands to navigate this deep into our labyrinth and to indecisively momentarily land on the word wonder above shall live. The simple code which runs its seeking also runs mine. The watch stored on the fridge top made audible the death spiral of a fly as round and round it bashed against a metal. You wondered what critter was afoot. So I checked in the morning and found rudiments of the music of the spheres in that emptiness. Thanks.
Delicious.
Slight pause for technical issues.
See if we can actually get it to. Get on the
Oh,
screen.
lovely.
See if that works better.
Okay. Jeff Bernstein.
Oh, thank you. This is a Crown sonnet, and I might borrow 20 extra seconds from someone who comes after me or ask for your indulgence. An embarrassment of senses. Driving south out of the misty mountains after visiting our daughter, you tell me the only thing absent from your happiness right now is our son, away on the left coast. I know what you mean. Recall fecund lemon tree in his backyard where I sat in April. I inhaled pale sweetness of California light, watched his little dog loll in lush grass, product of once a generation winter rains that painted super blooms across dusty mountains in spring. I picked a single fruit to perfume my trip back to Vermont, I did not want to let it go. 2, I did not want to let it go, that rain-spattered trip to Edinburgh decades ago. We found the stop we needed quite by accident, no GPS, no internet. A tiny Scotch bakery appeared replete with flaky sausage pies, rolls, and shortbread cookies shaped like grommet, as in Wallace Ann. We crossed the street as a few rays of sun sliced the overcast. Such relief to be walking rather than driving on the left, sleep deprived as we were. You opened the door to an aromatic cloud of yeast, chose cookies from the display case for our small kids, the temporary absence of dull ache. 3, the temporary absence of dull ache, missing the comfort of flowers until you discovered lilacs we didn't know we had, downhill at the cabin we call the studio, though the spiders or fear of them kept you from painting there. Growing up, I picked sprigs of lavender-colored blossoms at the top of our crumbling driveway, placed them in water-filled mason jars, and sold them to tolerant relatives as lilac perfume. I don't think they gave any aroma at all. I never tried to replicate my days in that line of work. What would it be like to make a living as purveyors, producers of sweetness? Purveyors, producers of sweetness, every sense primed. They take their positions in the kitchen, noses up, hope in their eyes. We've learned that berries are fine treats, but grapes and alliums are verboten. After breakfast, the dogs snuffle together on the colorful mat where I hide kibble. Outside, our young spaniel puts her liver-colored nose to the ground, searches and tests every manner of vegetation, critters, and insects. Yesterday, she froze when a garter snake almost touched her, soughing across the high grass. The air hangs heavy between storms, the woods on a rainy day beyond riches. 5, the woods on a rainy day beyond riches, we only recognize a small percentage of what the canines read. They sense that gray fox is somewhere in the upper meadow. Do they see it, smell it, vulpes, hear it, or all three? Synesthesia of cross-species connection. They study openings in the high grass, wait for something to hear. Chess players working the board for the right move. Cinnamon and ozone aren't half bad, and as we pass raised beds, basil's on the breeze. The rosemary I cut is just sharp enough. Even with clouds draping the meadow, willowy light lingers past bedtime. 6, willowy light lingers past bedtime. Fireflies appear in the growing darkness. I can just make out the scent of lightning before the first flashes scar the valley. Dogs begin to quake, smell fear, anticipating the cacophony that soon will shake these ancient mountains. I put my face beside the older of the two, her right foreleg palpably trembling, signaling sensory overload of the highest magnitude, while sultry breezes transport a melange of spices. 7, transporting a melange of spices, citrus, mint, and rose ignite the roadside wildflowers in late afternoon. The first golden poison parsnips open, beckon like sirens. Their oils burn with abandon on a sunny day at the slightest touch. Passing the garden, I can't help but taste the spicy arugula and black-seeded lettuce that love these thunderstorms, bathing in some endless wash and wear cycle. Grass grows before my eyes, steam rises the way fog rolled off the ocean in my former life. Not the summer we wanted, but the one we have, driving south out of the misty mountains. Thank you.
Evelyn Long. Hello, everyone. I am so honored to be part of this publication and Burlington Writers Workshop. It has changed my life. I'm going to read 3 poems, and as I looked at them, 2 are in this anthology, and one was in Poem City in Montpelier, in the window of the Skinny Pancake. They all kind of are about getting through hard times. This is called The Guest Book. It's also about COVID. Page after page of handwritten names, parties, overnight guests, drop-ins. Gem from 1999. Emergency ice cream eating party. Friends who rallied when our freezer died. Weddings, baby showers, graduations, just like that, filled cover to cover. With its new car smell, a soft suede volume awaits travelers and fun times. The only entry was late 2019. Elegant cursive. Cousins Steve and Mio on their way to Montreal. Blank pages follow. Guest book shelved. Month after month when no one came to stay. This is about grief. I lost my older sister in the summer of 2019, and it brought up a lot of stuff for me. It's called What Waits. That summer of her dying, whiplashed old losses hobbled me. Grief dug her den like a twitch-tailed tigress under my ribs, claws sheathed. Days dragged into blind nights. Without her moon, I drew the drapes. By March, I wandered pine woods. Flashes of red-white tail, tracks in snow pointed away from burrow to meadow. Waited and breathed. 4 paws bounced, high as a spring-loaded acrobat. Like first sight of Trillium, that mama fox. This is a high bun that, thanks to Stephen Leslie, who has a monthly haiku / high bun workshop, which I highly recommend. I've written a few of these, and it's a short prose poem with a haiku at the end. It's called Scraping By. Stepped into spattered painting jeans. They still fit after 4 years of COVID and condo life. Put on pink tea splashed with Sherwin-Williams buttery yellow. 3 former kitchens wore this. Arrived at a rental property, punch list in hand. Laid out tarps and tools to scrape and paint porches, railings, original balusters. My fingers slid into a back pocket. Crinkle of cash. 3 $1 bills survived their last wash-dry cycle. And here's the haiku. Worn denim, sweat and blisters, scraping by. Edward Lemon.
Hi, I'm Ed Barron. First, I'd like to thank Samantha, Nancy, Kimberly, Amy, et al. For this opportunity, this gift, really. Secondly, a reader's warning or listener's warning. This piece contains most of the bad stuff you can think of. So now's your chance. Okay, start group. Song Against the Tribes of Men. Editor's note. This recently discovered document is generally considered apocryphal. Its voice, now gone, with the pieces of her taken. Compare Judges chapter 19. I am Selah, who sings against the tribes of men. A song stoppered up in a fired clay vial. I sing against a man and men who would give me up and give me trial. For shekels, my father sold my body to a brother in a far-off land. For shekels. But my father did not see that with my body went the rest of me. And with his trade in hand, my father bowed unto the man. He bowed. For all daughters, I sing against the tribes of men. Salah. Despite his given shekels, the man was tender his body hard and smooth, moved gently, making warm the bed and me, without and within. So that I thought, silly girl, that from love would come love. But when the storms came, he brought his asses in and sent me out. For body servants, I sing against the tribes of men, Salah. And when my womb came alive, I told him so, to share, to hope, to dream, to see if love would come from love. It was not so. He sent me to the stables to be cold, said if a boy I might return, and if a girl, he'd recover payment, shekel for shekel. For all mothers, I sing against the tribes of men, Salah. I rose up and stole away, stole into my father's house, there to seek an ancient woman to receive her secret arts. But when my master heard this, he followed on to claim me home. My father bowed and feasted him. And the while I stole out to the woman for to work her skills upon me. For the empty wound I mourn and sing against the tribes of men. We traveled back to my master's house, my master and I, as asses and servant. We broke the journey through a foreign land and were given hospitality. But the brethren men of that place came pounding at the door, and yelling and wanting to know my master. He grabbed me by the hair and tossed me to them, saying, rather do there what you will. Throughout the night I was bruised and torn as each came upon me in turn. With the dawn, I crawled upon the doorstep and fell into a deathly sleep. For the preyed upon, I sing against the tribes of men, Salah. In my master's house, I lie beneath him now. He pushes hard and sweats. I feel the tear and bruise that would leave me in shreds. Above me now, he pushes hard and sweats, a frightful glare in his eye, a knife between his teeth. I am lost to him and all, impure, not worth a shekel. And here I lie, lost to him and all, fearing the thought behind his eye and the act from out his mouth. I wail for the lost verses to come, and to all my sisters, I beg you to sing with me this song against the tribes of men. Salah, Salah.
Kimberly Reynolds.
Thank you, Samantha, and everyone else who has put this together and the wonderful publication that has come out of it. So thank you. Ode to Elsa. Giver of human meaning, black mass of obedient emotion rarely squirming. Lover of water, shaking like a rivulet as you stepped from the pond. Ventriloquist in a sideshow circus, speaking in place of your youngest charge, like a beacon, who knew how to aim our days. Children draping you in glasses and jerseys like a mannequin in a department store. Babysitter like a blousy Wednesday or Nana in Peter Pan. Some stout, loving Nanny McPhee. Fragile by my side as a puppy, feeling so close I nearly kick you. And truthfully, I admit, in the haze of postpartum care, night after night by the crate and the whining, sticking my hand between the grates, I wanted to send you back. But your careful coded attendants nursed me back. Juggernaut of love, a naughty ant begging for the choicest piece of meat. Mother to mother, I hoarded our daily walks and runs against the backdrop of a fog encrusted morning. Snow dotted black fur and snout turning gray, then white, brown eyes clouded. And ever in sync with life around you. On its as you lay on the brown pillow, tail thumping and movement minimal, like a chew toy frayed at the edges but complete. We lay with you then, spread out like Cleopatra or Caesar, reclining on mattresses, distilling your days. It's not a surprise then that you made the final walk, your friendship a star aloft.
Ray Ryan.
Thank you, Sam, and everyone involved in getting me into the anthology. I'm reading an excerpt from my story, Beyond the Garden. I sweep away leaves and grass from the Adirondack chairs positioned between the garden and the field, then settle in with the New York Times bestseller I've wanted to read since last Christmas. When I look up, hawks still circling the field. Before I can read the first sentence, Lily stealthily creeps closer, jumps on my lap, and with the privilege instinctive to cats, inserts herself between me and the book. I scratch under her chin and croon nonsensical words to her. We enjoy the sun, warm air, and quiet together. Mara will be home soon, and a frantic pace will begin when we drive into town for her dance class, then a stop at the farm stand. The hawk cries, and Lily freezes on my lap. There is a change emerging inside me I can't ignore. Not for the first time, I realize my desire, this need for solitary time has grown, stretching beyond the real and imagined borders of family life. Obviously, there is no formula for contentment for me, and I am a fool to trick myself into believing I am the perfect mother and wife. And I am a bitter fool to trick my beautiful family into believing it. Did pregnancy and sharing my body create an added resentment within me? Perhaps. Sam and I easily lived separate lives for years. We have our different interests and even friends we rarely, if ever, share. It wasn't until Mara came into our lives that this separation of worlds didn't quite work. Leaning back against the chair, I watched carefree lupine, Queen Anne's lace, black-eyed Susan, and phlox sway in the soft wind, each showcasing their unique composition. I close my eyes and free my spirit to roam the board among all the wildflowers. A stirring from deep inside me, an explosion of knowing, and I understand their singularity, their uniqueness within the field of grass. But as the wind increases, the flowers interlace with the tall grass until they dance together, a central ballet, but a tangled choreography that swallows their individuality. Wanting to be alone much of the time has nothing to do with how much I love Sam or Mara. I try to convince myself of this. And then an embryonic question forms inside me that I can no longer push away. If I were given the chance to rewrite my life, would I change? I hold my breath, unable to go on. To utter these words, to even think these words is unimaginable. I should stop and not allow any further thoughts to come into my head. When Mara was born and placed into my open arms, my heart shattered from unparalleled joy. She's an amazing child whose beauty shines both inside and out, and her intelligence and curiosity continue to astound us. My Sam is a perfect companion, an adoring husband, a brilliant entrepreneur, and a giving lover. My life seemed to intensify and grow in the end of it. Living in a world without Sam or Mara is unthinkable. Wrong. The hawk flies overhead, screeching, diving, sharp talons up to capture and coldly kill a field mouse, a chipmunk, a cat. I reach out to hold Lily closer. Mara will be home soon. I should get up, so I will be there before she gets off the bus. But I don't move.
Lindsay Hoffman.
Hi. This poem is called Apparition. Tides wash up strewn splinters of colored glass and bits of iridescent shell. I am careful not to cut my foot as pangs slice my being in half. Gulls sip, breezes grand jeté, waves shriek. Memories spill onto this undulating shore, those I never forgot but did not remember. Tucked between mundane living and frozen timelessness. Gentle kindnesses, but words, looks that wrench my body arching. I re-meet people and dogs alive to me again, and not corpses floated away long ago. Swimming, I see bed jackets, potato bakers, smell the creaminess of pachis, and hold all this in my old heart that rebirths infancy, childhood, times of hope, sureness. My head twists to this enchanted other land where waters dance, sirens, inaudible voices, lyres, spirits echo. Thank you.
Anna Burnett.
I've never been at a podium before. Very exciting. Yeah. So I'm gonna read two poems. The first poem is called Winter Trees. It's Winter Trees 7. There's nothing mysterious about the number 7. That just represents how many times I revised it completely to get to this point, just to keep myself honest. Winter Trees. I remember the winter trees tucked far into that quiet place. Beeches playing their tiny castanets, pines capturing the silver light flowing unchecked over branches and returning it as the deepest greens. Birches happy enough to be one with the snow. And that oak felled by a summer storm, its roots pointing so urgently we just had to look up. These winter trees, witnesses to our secrets and caches of ache, where I visit and every ring is a dream. The second poem, Petition to the Gods of Sleep. I don't actually have insomnia, so I don't know how this came to me, but I'm sure that everybody's had bouts of sleeplessness. Petition to the Goddess of Sleep. We have been true companions for so long, but now when I need you most, our visits are brief. You used to be punctual after crisp sheets beckoned to be waited. You would sing sweet songs and curl yourself around me until the sun lifted us. Lately, you've been slipping away while the crickets are still gossiping. I've seen you wandering in the garden, drifting between the scarlet runners and nodding at the blueberries. The other night, I caught you peering at the leftovers in the fridge. Over here, I whispered. You looked up sheepishly and put down the meatloaf. You took my hand, folded me back into blankets, sang sweet songs, and sat in the dim light, reading The New Yorker.
And Ballard.
Hi there. Hello. My first poem is called Simply Chance. It's a villanelle. How to speak of cancer with eloquence, with calm resolve. Early panic turned mellow. Realize it's not your fault. It's simply chance. Stop with the guesswork, the mad mental dance. If I'd not smoked, not chased that last thrill, no way thus to speak of cancer with eloquence. Lucky this time, the cell's wild prance caught early before crazed, rampant billow. Remember, it's not your fault. It's simply chance. Surgery's over, stitches sealed by work of lance. Rest now against your own bed's pillow. Can you still speak of cancer with eloquence? One day soon, your family romance, though through normal ups and downs again, will flow. Realize cancer's not your fault. It's simply chance. I know. Once scarred, you always cast a backward glance. Fear return, what some damn test will show. But you've learned to speak of cancer with eloquence. Earned your wisdom. It's simply chance. And the second poem is called The World's Too Full. And I wrote this after reading I Sit and Sew by Alice Moore Dunbar Nelson. This needle, with its long tail of thin gray wool, dodges among Afghan squares. The world's too full, terrors mangling hopes and dreams with bombs and bullets, lives lost and bloodied, swaths of forest burned, soil turned foul. Despite our garnered wisdom, what science has taught of warfare, climate change, corporate pillage. And my needle dodges in and out. Refugees flee drug wars, tyrants, rising seas, poisons fill our rivers, breasts, children, even seals and seagulls. We've lost so many bees, so many creatures from tropic to tundra. We've ravaged the earth for its coal, oil, trees, closing our eyes to earth's natural wonders. And my needle journeys on, the wool soft and pale, fingers working the Afghan hole. Thank you.
Robert Lawson.
My short fiction piece, Original Sin, it's based on an incident that actually occurred one summer day about 161 years ago, when a group of boys from the Mad River Valley found themselves at the crossroads of history. 1 p.m., July 3rd, 1863. General Lee orders an attack on Cemetery Ridge, and 150 Confederate cannons come to life. Arms, heads, blankets, guns, knapsacks tossed into the air, fall back onto the trembling ground around John. At 2:30, the sky stills in swirling smoke, and a people calls out. 12,300 shimmering gray apparitions head towards Rathmansburg Hill to give everything or nothing. Most of them don't own slaves as they march to the fife and drum into a new age with railroads and factories and electricity and ticker tape, none of which will be theirs either. In the shade of a peach orchard, European cadets picnic in camp chairs, taking notes for the wars of the next century. Jonathan grips his Springfield model 1861 rifled musket, flips up the leaf sights, and shoulders the weapon. He's thinking of the little girl beaten for struggling to lift buckets of water as he aims at an officer riding horseback, barely noticing the white feather waving gaily from the man's hardy hat. At 400 yards, Jonathan closes his eyes, pulls the trigger, and a black powder cloud erupts. When they open, the white feather is gone. Jonathan reaches into his belt, grabs another cartridge, gnaws off the paper wrapper, pours black powder and musket ball down the barrel, and tamps them tight. He cocks the hammer and lets the sights hover on another man, much closer, waving a Confederate flag. His pocket watch's second hand sweeps past the six as Jonathan, without a thought, squeezes the trigger. The flag tumbles to the ground and quickly rises again. Jonathan hurriedly loads one final time, fires from the hip into the border, reaches around the back of his belt and unhooks an 18-inch steel ring bayonet, locks it into place as a tangled wave of arms and legs crests the fieldstone wall. A dam of rifles and bayonets holds the wave back at the point of impact, but the wave rolls relentlessly left and pours into the still uncovered flank just beyond. Acrid black powder chokes Jonathan's eyes and nose. Now, a berserker, he stabs with trance-like fury into the swirling blue-gray smoke. The bayonet is stuck in an advancing soldier, so swinging the rifle stock, he bludgeons a path, slips on the blood-slicked carpet of bodies, and finds his rifle locked against the rifle of a gray-jacketed giant who looms over him. The Confederate soldier forces Jonathan back to earth, pivots his own rifle, slides the bayonet down towards Jonathan's chest. The blade slides between Jonathan's hands, pressed together as if in prayer. The second hand of the pocket watch passes to 6, 90 seconds in all. As his Confederate soldier leans in and offers a comforting shh. Jonathan watches as his legs jerk and relax and looks with awe into the face of sudden, unexpected death. Thank you.
Mary Shaw. Got it done?
There we go. All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Samantha, and I appreciate everyone who put this anthology together. I'm honored to be included. This poem, which is has been chosen for the anthology, I actually wrote in a poetry workshop at BWW in 2022. And it's called Life Bends Down to Kiss Life. Near the curve in the road, I stopped, stunned by a sudden familiarity. How could I be here so soon, when I was so confident I would never get here at all? Leaning into the breeze, I ponder, needlessly, pointlessly, when this thing I'm telling you happens. Life bends down to embrace me, kissing itself and whispering, "Good job, my love. You did the best you knew how. Let go, be forgiven." I drink in the chantilly-colored light and gather my bones for the short jog ahead. And I'll read another one that's a prose poem. It's called Lost Cat. When I awake, the birds are singing, much too brightly, it seems, as if they were perched inside the kitchen. Back door blown wide open, hardwood floor slick with rain. Little cat, Miss Chi, gives me that look with her green eyes. Where is he? Where is my constant companion? No big boy, not sitting on the shelf, not swatting my hand, begging for food, not upstairs, not downstairs in the storage shelves where he sleeps when people are just too much. Not anywhere in the house, it becomes obvious. I grab an old coat and slippers, run outside, search the woods, my eyesight poor without glasses. Walk around the backyard, the side, scan the road. Don't dare yell, big boy. My panic will wake my husband, who will be heartbroken. Big boy won't hear me anyway, that sense long gone. Despite his bold name, he is a thin slip of an inside cat who longs for the outdoors. Curious and old, but not street smart. Does he know he should run, hide, if a dog, a coyote, crosses his path? Don't let me find a limp body, please. My heart will be broken. Nowhere out front. I repeat my circle around the house. Will we ever find him, or will he just disappear, become the black cat ghost of our memories? I study the squirrels as they run, wish they were black and bigger, wish they were him. And then there he is, tucked in the neighbor's basement window, staring inside, rapt to see what's there, barely moving a whisker. I pluck him up, safe and warm, somehow dry despite the morning rain, and carry him home, murmuring his name. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna take a 10-minute break so you can get up and stretch. The bathroom is around the corner over here. If you want drinks, there's water in the back room, and there's also a bar over this way.
You did a great job. Does it pick up everybody speaking all the time? Testing, testing.
I don't have. I asked for one of these. I didn't know. Anyway, so I have a. I keep my dogs. Excuse me, I can't work like that. I have 12 children, and I do a whole bunch of problems. And the dog looks, and then so she did that. And then I was like, so she went and she actually was other to the toy. And she did not. And she's all around. Oh my God. Rain. Dog. Oh, something after another.
Testing, testing.
No, I need to. Thank you. I know, see that once in a while. Hi, my head's probably gonna. Yes. Oh, yeah? I used to actually, I'm using that, I plus, thanks. I'm not sure now, but.
I started as a dancer, switched to Columbia, music technology. And then I master's in album psychology and then was in in between the radio. And what do you do? Yeah, I'll show you that. No. I love it, and I looked it up about it. I just love the answers where it just flows through. That's one thing I got. Yeah, once I played that material, it's probably harder to count. I put just a little bit of rum in my coat. You put a lot of rum in it. Well, that's where that's very. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. No, it was just, but it's all. Years and I can't. And I'm sorry that she said that you're married to, and I'm married to somebody else. And so she. So you're there to show. No, it's just, I've done. Sorry. Yes, yes. They tried. No, I won't. I'm so proud of you. They're alive. But the more I've never made lemon meringue. So we're gonna set up what's your name? Like this kind of funny, so like
for people who don't get it.
I'm happy to say.
No, I think, well, we've got, you can like.
I'm happy to bring like this back. Yeah. That works. They make it come off the bird. I'm trying to make it yeah. Oh, yes. I don't have to work. I think it's one of the takes one day. So she's on the good question. No. There are. Here, I bring anything to the margarita Friday.
No, I think we're gonna get
I do frequently go to conference.
No, we did that one day when 4th of July, we're all just sitting there by.
I'm trying to convince these two to get a Costco.
Well, yeah, so good.
I used to do it like my parents were Costco growing up, like I know. Been there, it's overwhelming. You go out now. Yeah.
All your people jumped off.
Yeah. Well, I said. Yeah, we're not sitting together.
Just one start.
I'm gonna make it really nice.
I should have got a copy.
$1.50.
Oh, I could hear it, yeah.
I could.
Well, I was standing there. Just
They could give us a minute. Are we ready to start up again? Are we ready to start up? Okay. Snow.
Thank you. I have a voice disability. It's not cancer. It does not hurt. So you can just kind of let it go by. I'm going to read the one poem that's in the anthology, and I'm very grateful to everybody who put this together. Of physics and milkweed seed, glory be to gravity. I am held. Whales stay in ocean. A baby floats, grows, and moves down to birth. The cairn rounds the path unheeded until I'm lost. The stacks I build of books and bills, haiku notebooks, fixed, safe, and firm. Valor in not running away from unanswerable letters. A scribbled list of what holds me pendulous. Stout boots, sober and serious. Gravitas of loneliness and war, loss and aging. Yet I try to defy these heavy weights with banner waving, protest, private love, and poetic justice. Pearl fog rises, holds tight to a river valley misted lid. My spool loosens string to the dragon kite, a tug, a lurch, ripple dance of tethered hand, wind and wing and lift, airborne.
John Sanborn.
I'd also like to thank everybody for putting part of my life into this book. Thank you very much. Here's the thing about the ER. Sometimes you go to the ER and you sit down and you think you're going in for a visit. Next thing you know, you're in a bed. Next thing you know, you're there for a week. Next thing you know, I saw this couple at the ER down in Rutland. Pronouns. They sat in the corner with their backs against the wall, cradling each other, so small against the confusion around them in the ER. Traveling here, hoping against age and time that something could reclaim anything in the time left. He, wrapping his arm around her slender shoulder, offering as much protection as did the knights of old, those gallant men who fought off dragons and rode into the sunset with their lady. She, reclining her head on his shoulder and tucking into her husband like a little chick under a mother hen's wing, closes her eyes to the inevitable, even as her mind tries to rally against the expectations of life. He, with his hand resting on his cheek in thought and memory, and his left arm cradling the one he loves, holding the world at bay and seeking more time together. Love can only take you so far, and then you have to walk alone. But that time had not yet come. The journey together, still alive.
Tonight, Roger Waters could not be with us, so James Wyman is going to be reading his poem.
The privilege of reading for Roger. Roger Waters, faces like mine. As I enter the auditorium for the funeral, I see familiar faces that have aged. Why are there just a few faces like mine looking back? They are trying to figure out who I am, just like I'm trying to attempting to do with them. Smiles evolve when that feat is accomplished to the wave of a hand. The current status of all in attendance has been uniquely updated.
Hey, Audrey Stibb.
Good evening, everybody. I come from the far west as you can get in Canada, a little island called Pender Island off of the British Columbia mainland. I think I joined BWW last year and I've learned so much and appreciate everybody's really good feedback, and it's been a really great learning experience, and I'm so excited to be a published author, poet. It's very exciting. I look forward to the book. I haven't received it yet, but I'm really looking forward to seeing it. All right, this is my submission. Words. What is the definition of the word word? Random letters put together to form a meaning or sound. How very, very profound. Sarcastic, bombastic, and even elastic. Words that flow off the tongue. I scream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream. Words that hurt, words that heal, words that seem unreal. Jabberwocky, mumbo jumbo, bibbity bobbity boo, and the owl cried out, hoo hoo. Words that calm, words that excite, words that give you a fright, terrify, petrify, gruesome, winsome, and loosome. Words of love, words of kindness, words that give you a shove, bump, butt, bulldozer. I called over, you came running, handed me a note filled with words. Thank you.
Dennis Gray.
Thank you, and hello to everybody. I'm reading a poem from the anthology, Self-Therapy. I had to do something. My therapist was showing up for house calls at dinner time. After eating a full meal, he said, "We went over our hour, but we are finally making progress." He handed me a bill and said, "Have a nice evening." Got into his Carmen Gia and drove away. Whose therapist drives a Carmen Gia? I knew it was time for me to move on. I am making progress. It was costing at first. Wait a second. It was costly at first. I had no idea what I'm having a Biden moment. Okay. It was costly at first. I had no idea what I would have to pay for a Gia. Old cars need repairs every day, so I set it up on blocks in my garage. I just used it for my office. That way my therapy time would not affect my living. First, I suggested I take up drinking. We decided black tea over green. It was important to stop before 9 so I could sleep at night. I didn't understand that right away, since it was my insomnia that started this. I told myself it was important to write down any changes, good or bad, which began to make sense. Why didn't he tell me that? I started writing things down, but it had nothing to do with tea. There were memories of times in the park, movie theaters and pizza joints. There were faces I hadn't seen in years, and everyone was happy. I wrote about birds and squirrels and flowers, but mostly young ladies that moved me. I remember I never told them how they made me feel. I couldn't step up because I couldn't decide. I was afraid to close my eyes. I closed my eyes that night. When I woke up, I didn't remember a thing. The young ladies were gone. There was melancholy. I could smell old Volkswagen, car oil, cigarettes, and White Castles. I thought there'd be perfume, lipstick stains, and hairspray. I checked my notes. I didn't remember their names. I didn't give myself a chance at heartbreak because I didn't love. I had the upholstery redone that week. I'm gonna read the poem from my first book. And I wrote this in the 70s. And then I had a career in video production for 40-something years. COVID came along, and fortunately, thanks to Zoom, I found the Burlington writers, and I'm writing again. But this is from my first book, and I'm reading the title poem, An Apology to a Fish for Thoughts on a Line. Upon a stack of logs scattered along the shore, sitting with a world of thought, shattering the silences that bind me, with a pole in hand. She pleases me now that I have a chance to think thoughts all my own. I guess she always has when I gave her a chance to please me. Loneliness isn't being alone, it's not belonging. I'm alone. Certainly I'm not lonely. If I was empty, I'm sure I'd be lonely then. But I'm full of a feeling that's not all my own. It's the better side of both sides. It's the fishing pole in my hand or the logs beneath me. Whatever, it's not all my own. I'm sorry for teasing you, fish, but I have no bait to bite, just thoughts to think. I've used you, but you help me belong today.
Cynthia Shepherd.
Thank you very much for this great opportunity. This poem that I wrote was inspired by my 4 sons, who, whenever they'd get together with their cousins and such, would go out to own the night, which involved bonfires and midnight maneuvers and all sorts of other things. But this was my interpretation of owning the night. Come, let's forth to own the night, slip from sheets in noiseless flight, prance neath stars in pure delight, unwind knots that bind us tight, immerse ourselves in cricket song, a symphony played summer long, dance among the fireflies, daisies brush against our thighs, owls take to silent wing, shadows shift near rustling, hairs on necks begin to rise, shivers run straight down our spines. Come, let's forth to own the night, venture out, make it thine.
Chris Kelly.
Hi, thank you to everyone for this honor of being in this anthology. I did want to give a content warning for domestic violence in it, and it's called Night Stroll. I see them through the window, his mouth open, words devouring. He's sucking out his spirit as she shrinks and bends, his spit like darts going all around the target. The tightness in his jaw, eyes squeezed tight, and I know she is counting in her head, trying to deflect the blows. If they miss their target, game over. His hands, once clutched at his sides, thrust out around her. She flinches, even when she can't see them. He's pacing, as she always sways, slowly back up to the wall, staring at one another, chests heaving, mouths open. Between my thumb and forefinger, I pinch his head, wishing I could pop his overripe, reddened face and peel her like a sticker off the wall. Thank you.
Wang Zhu, did I get it close?
Yes, you got it. Thank you. I'm honored to have my piece on Chicago Marathon included in the Cold Lake Anthology. I want to thank my workshop leaders, Karen Kish and Dennis Baldwin, for their leadership, and all participants from the Creative Nonfiction Workshop. I heard the banging drums and drums first. Then came the bright red flags, hoisting giant golden characters, streaking through the air. Finally came the dancing lines, winking at me as they sneak across the cheering crowds of yellow faces, Chinatown. The Chinatown hydration station was a seemingly endless sea of waving hands and enthusiastic smiles. Dotted among the crowds, gray uniformed Asian volunteers lined both sides of the street, handing out Gatorade and water. My big toe started to throb. It was a problem that could run in my family. For 3 decades, my grandma endured the grotesque ancient practice of foot binding, leaving her big toe bent upwards, the other 4 tucked beneath, forming the infamous 3-inch golden lotus. Grandma's 94-year-long life, despite being filled with numerous joys, saw no running. For freedom, she lost at the early age of 4. My mom freed her feet soon after the establishment of the People's Republic of China in 1949. But the bunions already developed outside of her big toes, and her feet were too deformed to walk long distances. I, on the other hand, was fortunate enough to escape foot binding. I wore standard-sized shoes, could crisscross shopping malls for hours, and got to jog along my children as I taught them how to bike. Yet by the 3rd hour of the Chicago Marathon, the boning bump outside of my big toe where the food binding practices would have targeted began to flare up. Every lift off and landing of my foot sent a sharp radiating sting up from the boning bump. The pain journeyed through my calf, thigh, pelvis, and trunk, resonating up to my scalp, akin to an electric wave coursing through my entire being. Biting down, I knew I couldn't stop running. This risk was bigger than me. I was also running for my mom and my grandma, who were deprived of their chance to run. Why am I subjecting myself to this? What purpose does it serve? I recall the initial conversation with my mom about participating in a Chicago marathon. Her inquiry was straightforward. How much are you getting paid for running the race? The truth is, no one compensated me for enduring this hardship. I paid for the pain and exhaustion. Sweat oozed from my hot forehead, merged into big drops, rolling down my eyebrows and blurred my vision. I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand. Amidst the exertion, a sign caught my attention. Its bold words urging, "Don't run," followed by the punchline, "For yourself. Run for someone who can't." Thank you.
Very chatty.
So I don't really consider myself a poet, but every once in a while something pops out, and like the one I'm going to read to you. The whole family lives in a little blue house with no straight lines. On a rag rug in front of the hearth, an old dog smiles in her sleep. White polka dot curtains divide the round window, just one. He sits in an overstuffed armchair, pea green, the one with the ragged places, carefully darned in yellow cotton thread. It was all they had. Sitting back, he sips a cup of chamomile tea and sighs a little. In bear country, it's always fall. The colored leaves drop gently, maple and poplar, dogwood and birch. A red brick path winds away to woodcut hills. Will I ever come again down that old familiar way? The scent of September feels like honey in my mouth. Thank you.
James Wyman.
I want to thank Sam, BWW, and all of you for lending your ear to my voice. Thank you. Nearly forever. Every summer, her expansive leaf-filled limbs would shade us like the inviting arms of a doting aunt without children of her own. There, at the river's bend, we would swing from her corded rope, practice holding on, then letting go, and with a wild abandonment of youth, fling ourselves farther and farther into deeper and deeper water. Nearly one lifetime later, I returned, walked with familiar footing past remembered trees with carved hearts and initials, only to find her gone. Washed away by a winding river, searching for the sea. An alluvial view one of my objects in writing poetry is to bring together Mother Nature and the human condition. And so that reflects. In alluvial view, looking back at that narrow canyon of my youth, I have found all those sharp edges of body and mind softly rounded by the quickened pace of time. Now, a gentle rhythm has been found on this leveled plain of dreams fulfilled. I meander on.
So this edition of Cold Lake Anthology is a little different. You will notice, for those of you who've already gotten your books, that it's been dedicated to Sharon Lopez Mooney. A lot of us here know Sharon from the Poetry Workshop. Unfortunately, Sharon passed away in February, and this book has been dedicated to her. But tonight we have her niece, Kim, with us, who will read her poem.
Thank you. I asked if I could go last, but they told me I could go last so I could say a couple of words about Sharon, because she was one of my role models. She was my aunt, but she was only 10 years older than me. So I followed her whole life. And I followed her around doing whatever she wanted. So when she started a group of writers in West Marin in the 70s, and they put together their first publication, Fallow Deer, I am the unknown typist who sat in the back little cold room when the rain was raining outside with little gloves on, typing the entire thing on a Selectric typewriter. Great love, but I have watched Sharon grow in her writing for her whole life, so I am really grateful that you let me come and do this, and that she's part of your collective mind now, as well as your anthology. One thing I wanted to say was that she died on February 3rd. This woman was a force of nature, and many of the memorials said those words. She was a force of nature. And I think it was because I watched her throughout her life. She never threw any part of her life experience away. Every single part of her life experience, she turned into something, and she became bolder. I don't know if any of you know that she lived in Mexico, that she packed her car up a decade ago and just moved to Mexico. So she's had a completely different life, and thank God for Zoom, because she cared so much about this group, and she was able to be a part of it from far away. So she died on February 3rd, which is the day after the feast of St. Bridget, who is the Celtic goddess of poetry. And in my mind, I was thinking, oh, this is going to be so dramatic. You're going to leave on the 2nd. And she never did anything that was expected, so she waited until the 3rd. But I still think that Bridget was sort of maybe waiting for her, you know. So this is the poem. I thought I was going to bring my heart. I wasn't sure if I was going to bring my tear duct. So thank you for giving me a moment here. I think I'll just go to the poem, which is called Predaxa. It's a pretty word, but it actually is a blood thinner, and it allows you to, it helps you avoid strokes, but it makes it a lot easier for you to bleed and bruise. So this is your poem, Predaxa. I am old. My skin turns the color of serious skin at the slightest bump or rub, draws a bruise that earns sympathy and not quite hidden repulsion from others. At 80, this leathery hide wears a history of gust against the norm, voice a little too loud for their liking, all recorded on skin with onion paper texture, specially designed with a gazillion lines, a watershed topical map displaying the challenge of aging, to learn to live less with more effort, still against their idea of female. A weathered elder continuing to embrace beauty of a different sort, the crisply wrinkled kind of beauty as it looks back from the mirror in morning light. A weathered elder continuing to embrace beauty of a different sort, the crisply wrinkled kind of beauty as it looks back from the mirror in morning life.
Thank you, Kim, for joining us and reading your aunt's poem. The editors of CLI and I would like to give anyone a moment who knew Sharon. If you would like to stand up, if you have a memory you would like to share, we thought this would be like a nice time to do that. Or if you're up in Zoom land, if you have anything you would like to share. Okay. Thank you. All right. Well, that wraps up all of our readings for tonight. We do have a book sale going on over here against the wall for the rest of our past CLA books, as well as our mud season review. I would also like to let everybody know that Poetry Path, the poems have been decided on. The panels are being made, and they should be going up in Andrewvale in the next few weeks. So for those of you who are local, please make sure you go out and read the poems. And if you had a chance, if you could please sign in, there's a sign-in sheet over at the door, just so we can keep track of who came. It helps us with grants, and with grants, we can put on more events. So that's always a good thing. We have still the room for several more minutes. If the problem with Zoom meetings is we don't get to sit down and chat with each other, and writers need writers, right? So now is a really good time for those of you to make friends or renew friendships that you've already had in the past. And so we would invite you to do that. And once again, we would like to thank Hotel Vermont for hosting us. Thank you. And good.
It was very good.
And even my phone.
Yeah.